You can have a very pretty restaurant, but if the chair has, handle, it's impossible to get in and out. Tables with 4 legs are great. When people get out of the seat, they will hit the leg and they will drop their glass of wine. All those little tiny things, but they make a huge difference on your experience. If I need to have a mobile phone for us to work together, you're not my right client anyhow. When I'm working, I need 10, 20 minutes to zoom in. We had a client that walked into our office, on the 29th of November, and he said, I got an opening party on the 26th of December, and we had nothing. But normally it takes 6 weeks to design and 6 weeks to build. No, we just did this and this other restaurant, and they say, we can take photos. I said, Interior, whatever magazine just came and they will publish it next week. So, it's okay, we'll take shots from another angle. You're going to find something for everyone in that place. So it's an amazing place to go with a group of divergent, difficult people. The whole experience is entertaining. I mean, if I go out, I want to have fun. What do I like? I like sexy places.
Hernan, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
You became my idol 2 days ago. We talked about this on the phone, on the landline, but I wanted to start the podcast with this because I think it describes the character, or I imagine it does. I wanted to reach out to you. My wife actually did, and I said, I asked Katrina, can you please find out his WhatsApp number so we can maybe just finalize some details? And she said, Hernan doesn't have a phone, a mobile phone. So please, you need to call him between noon and 1 p.m. At this landline. And I was like, that's so fucking cool.
It doesn't feel that cool.
How did you manage to achieve this? Because this is a real life achievement.
You know what? We live without phone for 1 million years. And till the late 80s, really, you didn't have a mobile phone. You had to arrange things on landlines. Even the first mobile phones, I remember one of my friends carry one. It was probably 8 kilos. You carry a bloody full phone with you.
Yes.
And you had to arrange meetings like in that corner at that time, and you allowed yourself maybe 15 minutes maximum. Normally was a window of 10 minutes to being late, and that was already really impolite, but you had to be there.
Yeah.
There was no questions about it. And then the phone became something that you're totally dependent on. Now, I had a mobile phone when they were rare, and it was great because you could really save a lot of time. I jump in a taxi and I make my calls. But then when it became mainstream, it just, you have no time to think. You're constantly on the hook.
Yeah.
And I lost my phone in a taxi, I don't know, 15, 18 years ago. I can't remember how long ago.
Really?
Yeah. And for the first 3 days, it was like, I think I would have rather walked on my underwear than without the phone on those. It was like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? And so after 3 days, I thought, okay, it started getting used to the fact that I'm not carrying the phone with me. And I started getting calls on my landline. You still got a lot of those on those days, from clients saying, I cannot reach you, where's your phone? And I said, I lost it. I said, you have to buy another one. And it was so much pressure and aggression from some of my clients from the fact that I didn't have the phone. I said, this is not good, Then you realize that you have something around your neck and they're just... And they started sending me phones. I got 3 phones for free,
Your clients did?
My clients sent
That's
me
amazing.
phones. And that was it. That was the turning point. I said, I'm not using a mobile phone anymore. I'm not going to be strapped to this, and I told my clients, and a lot of them were slightly upset, and one of them said, if I cannot reach you, I don't work with you, and that was kind of like, well, if I need to have a mobile phone for us to work together, you're not my right client anyhow. You don't hire me for I got an emergency. I'm not a heart surgeon, I'm a designer. The job will take 3 months to go or whatever it is. You need time to let things, sink in, and you need brewing time.
I know.
And the phones just stop you. It's bad enough with the iPad, and that's an email, But the emails don't make people so aggressive. WhatsApp make people, kind of like, I cannot reach you. The email, they send you an email, and if you reply 2 days later, they say, oh, why didn't you reply early? They send a WhatsApp, and they want a reply straight away. And now they don't even think, we had faxes before, and it was a pain to write the bloody thing. So when you sat, you wrote it, and you program it, and you plan it. So you try to send one in a day.
Yeah.
WhatsApp, everything comes to their mind, and it's like almost they send you one sentence and one call. It's like, just summarize it and send it all in one. And I can see it with my staff. I tell them, don't answer, just don't answer them. And it's not good for the client. It's not good for the job. It's not good for you. When I'm working, I need 10, 20 minutes to zoom in before I can cut off the noise around me. And with the WhatsApp, even people say, but you just don't need to answer. It's not true.
But
I need to answer.
The focus is gone.
And the minute the thing vibrates, it's like, it's there. And now I'm half there and half here. I can't.
But the worst? The worst is the people that they send you an email, and 1 second later they send you a WhatsApp saying, I sent you an email. I'm like, give me a little bit of time. I am very obsessed about this topic. This is why I wanted to bring it up at the beginning, because I have been even playing with the idea of removing internet connection from my home, because now we are so connected all the time that I think I need a safe haven for what you just described, just to focus, just to relax. I have been starting to turn off my phone, not put in silence, turn off at night, and at least I don't have the temptation of maybe, I'm jet lag, I wake up at 4 to just go there and grab it, because I have a barrier. I need to turn it on, and it's a little one, but it starts. And I try to use WhatsApp as I do email. Like, I reply maybe 3-4 times a day. Like, okay, now let me see what's here. But still, you're totally right. You don't have time to think.
Yeah.
And when I go on holiday and I turn off the phone for 5 days in a row, like, I really could not care less if, God forbid, there is a fire in my mom's home back in Spain or something. And the news will reach me for sure.
They will.
Somewhere or another.
Yeah.
It's so relaxing.
And I'm. It doesn't. It sounds like, oh, it's great, you are in heaven without a phone. I'm quite dependent on my iPad, and the emails. But again, I leave them outside the room, because I get tempted. It's
100%.
And I get distracted very easily. So it's like you're on a diet. You it's not something that comes naturally. I love eating. I love all the wrong things, and I get tempted very easily. So only way to avoid the trouble is
not to have
put it away.
Yes.
Exactly. Games. I remember when computers came up and you have the little Macs with a little mouse that walk across your screen, and they had golf and fly simulators. They were lousy games, but all of a sudden you're spending 3 hours playing these obsessive things. So every time I got a new computer, the first thing I do is delete all those free games, I
It is
know.
true.
I'm a sucker for, you know.
No, but it's true. I mean, it's not you, it's everyone. It's like trying to walk through life depending on the power of with the willpower.
Yep.
It's like being I say a gambler and trying not to gamble in a casino. It's like it's everywhere.
I have a huge willpower if I don't see it.
Yeah.
But if you throw it on the table, I'm going to have it.
The
I-
brain
I-
starts firing.
Yeah, food. I mean, the same. I eat really once a day. I don't have lunch. I concentrate on. Again, it was
Dinner
purpose.
or breakfast?
Dinner.
Dinner.
you know.
Okay.
Or very late lunch. Or
Okay.
I don't have breakfast. I don't have lunch. But if you put food on the table and you sit me there, I'm probably going to eat twice as much as any of you. I'm very fast. I can eat very, very fast. So I binge on anything.
Yes. Hey, but this is very funny you say this because this is my problem. Like when normally I get out of the house very early in a normal situation. And in that situation, I skip breakfast and I don't have any problem of having a very light lunch or skipping lunch. My problem is now that, I have a newborn, so I need to take care of the older one in the morning and she has breakfast. And it's like, I'm not going to have the toasted bread with peanut butter. Of course, I'm going to have 3 times as her because it's very slow and, I eat at a normal pace. So, no. I think it's very wise. I think it makes even more extraordinary the fact that you are, let's say, your activity has a lot of longevity. You've been here for a very long time. You've made it in a very difficult city. But before I start asking you questions about what you do in Hong Kong, I was very curious on how you got here because Chile is very far. I mean, Spain is very far as well, but Chile is very far.
We're on the opposite side.
Between Chile and Hong Kong, what happened in the middle?
In the middle, Australia happened in the middle, and Brunei happened in the middle.
And Brunei.
Yeah. I left Chile to get out of the cocoon. And I was born kind of privileged and insecure because everything is there, And I was very, very, very shy. So with my wife, it was like purposely we have to get out, survive for a minimum 2, maximum 5 years, and come back. That was the plan. So we immigrated to Australia. And that was a life-changing experience, all of a sudden.
That was, which year was that?
That was 86.
Oh, wow.
So, and the 5 years turned up to 8, and then I worked for large companies there, then I set up my company, and then went bust, and I went back to work with a large company, and then set up again and went bust. So it came back and forward doing that. And in 86, the last big recession that they had in Australia was like, okay, we need to go out, get a job somewhere else, and I got a job in Brunei.
Oh, wow.
And the idea was, okay, go to Brunei for a year, get back on our feet, enough money to pay the old taxes, and go back to Australia. And Brunei turned up to be a 3-year break instead of 1. And in Brunei, I started coming to Hong Kong quite often, every 6 weeks, or 8 weeks. I met a friend in Australia, in a flat across the window, basically, sort of this distance, So we just waved to each other for a year, through the kitchen window, and he was very entrepreneurial, so he ended up opening up shopping that I did for him in Australia, and then he used to come to Taiwan to buy electronics. In the trips to Taiwan, he met a chef in a minibus in Hong Kong and decided to open a Thai restaurant in Hong Kong. At the time, I was still in Australia, but about to move to Brunei, and he basically said, "Can you design a restaurant?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I can design a restaurant." I was an architect at the time, doing huge buildings. But my father had a restaurant a block away from my school when I was growing up. So I used to spend 10 hours a week, minimum in that restaurant every lunch. And after hours, I would go there, do my homework, wait for him to pick me up. He didn't work in the restaurant. He just, so he picked me up and we would go home. And I did that for years. So I grew up in this restaurant, there it was 60 people working in there. And, but it never occurred to me to be in the restaurant business. It was just, it was a family gathering every day. And so when this guy came up with, I want to open this Thai restaurant in Hong Kong, I was like, okay, sure. And I sat there and started working on it, and all these flood of emotions, of memories came back, and I remember sitting in the board meetings where they would sit me in a corner, and my father, his partners, and the architect would have a meeting to discuss, changes to the restaurant. And the architects were always incredibly articulate. They were such good salesmen. It's I grew up going to sites. Both my grandparents were engineers, and they used to do small, 3 houses and sell 2 and keep 1 or whatever it is. So every Saturday was like a trip to a site with either my grandfather or the other grandfather or my father, and they were going through the books and the accounts, and I went to play on the site with the workers and nail something on. So I knew I was going to be an architect all my life, since I have any memories. And the restaurant side was just something that happened on the side. But when these meetings came, it was the whole blend, the architect doing the sales pitch, and it was amazing because you have these 5 partners, 2 of them that were actively involved in the restaurant, and this architect would convince them of doing things that were totally illogic. It's he would come with a very theoretical approach. We can do that, and people will do that, and the 2 guys that operated would come and say, "No, I'm not too sure." He would convince them, and then they would build this thing, and within 3 weeks, it didn't work. So they have to start modifying it, but they don't call the architect to modify it. Then they start modifying them themselves. So ended up being a freaking mess. I mean, it worked, but it was a mess. So when this guy came up with this first restaurant, it was like, we need service stations. We need all these things that, as a designer, you just want to hide away.
Yep.
But I knew that if I hid them, they will come back, and they will come back done by the client, not by myself. So you're better off doing the shit yourself, than let it be solved or improvised by somebody that doesn't give a damn about it later. And that worked very well for all of us. It worked. The restaurant was super successful. I also understood the numbers of it because, you can have a very pretty restaurant, but if the chair has, handles, and you're sitting side by side, it's impossible to get in and out. Tables with 4 legs are great. They look very nice, but when people get out of the seat, they will hit the leg, and they will drop their glass of wine. They will break the glass, and they will stain their clothes. And all those little tiny things, but they make a huge difference on your experience. So I learned to compromise that even before we did the first restaurant. And that was fun, and then I was working as an architect, and these projects, sometimes they take 3, 4, 5 years. They were big jobs. At the beginning, it's very exciting, and it gets really dry and boring for long periods of time. And then when it's open, it's like, wow, it's my building. It's not your building. It's 100 people involved in it. It's so many parts, and those mistakes that you made, you end up blaming them on somebody else because, no, that couldn't have been me. It must have been somebody else. and the learning process is very slow. When you do a restaurant, first of all, the excitement of the the action from the people that are there, it's immediate. It's so they gratify. It's very gratifying, when doesn't matter what ended up being the relationship between you and your client, not always goes well. The fact that they open and the place is full and is alive is gratifying. It justifies all the shit that happened before. It's like having a child. Eventually, eventually will pay off.
I hope eventually it pays off.
I'm hoping for that too.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And,
3 already, but you finished
40.
the game.
Oh, you never finish the game. That's a lesson that you will learn. Oh, never ever. This is a life commitment. Trust me, it will be some pain on different levels forever. And gratifying as well.
My calculation of, being over with it in 18 years is totally incorrect.
Oh, totally unrealistic.
Unrealistic.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I let them grow up in Hong Kong. They know languages. Hopefully they will be a little bit handsome and beautiful after the mother. I shouldn't pay for the university. So at 18, they should actually pay me royalties and just go.
Good. You're recording this, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
They will be able to judge me.
Red flag it. We'll bring it back up in 18 years.
No, it's going to be... Mamma mia. So, how, let's say, between conception of a restaurant and the opening, how much time do you have?
Well, things have changed a lot in the last 5 years, rent-free periods have got longer. People are... It's quite weird. Deadlines used to be like set on stone, cast on, metal before. Now everything gets stretched. The timing is getting slower. The suppliers, it's changing. It's coming back to our normal.
Okay.
But we have done restaurants in. We had a client that walked into our office, on the 29th of November, and he said, "I got an opening party on the 26th of December." And we had nothing. We had
empty shell.
An empty shell. And he was like, "That's impossible." I said, "No, you have to." So I said, "No problem, we'll do it. But you're out of the way. You cannot have a word on this. You give me the menu, you tell me what you want, and we just do it." And so we walk on the site with the builder, the kitchen guy, the air conditioning guy, the client, his bar manager, his restaurant, the chef, and we just walk in, and he said, "Okay, air cons will go on this side, the kitchen will be here, the open kitchen here, the bar here." Basically, we just walked things and said, more or less, this is where things will go. And then we started drawing by hand. It was, I think, no time to draw it on the computer. It was like sketched it up, and my guys will put together some things on the computer, but most of it was by hand. And then we went to India. It was an Indian restaurant to buy decorations. Like, went there, buy the fabrics, buy this, buy that. I had a shipment of 60 chairs that were coming for another restaurant that had plenty of time to shuffle things.
Yes.
So I said, "Okay, that shipment of chairs, this will be the chairs for this restaurant, and we'll find a different chair for the other one."
Okay.
And they open on the...
This is 2024 or when?
No, this is
a long time ago.
1995.
1995.
So people... 2005. 2005,
wow.
And basically in a month it was designed and built.
Okay.
We've done that twice. The first time I promised never to do it again. I did it again. Now, so far, well, good. We haven't done it again. But normally it takes 6 weeks to design and 6 weeks to build.
So you get satisfaction every quarter?
Very often. Actually, we used to get satisfaction at least once a month because we used to do a restaurant every 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it was No. It was.
That's super.
Oh, absolutely. More often
Um,
than sex.
I don't think you're being totally sincere with this. Uh, let me walk back a little bit just to follow the chronology until 1998, in which ZHA opens. Which, but since if my numbers, if my understanding is not wrong, 86 to 92 you are in Australia. Then 92 to 95
86 to 93, I was in Australia.
and 93,
And then 93 to 96, I was in Brunei.
and then you come here.
And then 96, we came here. 97, 98, we had the Asian crisis, which was very similar to the crap that we're going through now.
Yeah.
It was. And we couldn't leave. We were here. I came here with that client that I did that first Thai restaurant.
Yes.
And then we did quite a few restaurants for him. And that was my only client at the time. And he basically was like, you cannot work with anyone else. It's like, okay, I work with you. And but 97, 98 came and he went bust. And so we lost our only client. And we really couldn't leave, I didn't have money to pay tickets for the whole family to leave Hong Kong. So yes, of course, I could have called my mother, and my mother would probably send the tickets, But it was like, no, we worked from home for 6-7 months. That's another whole story. It was really scary time, but we survived. And the thing is, on those days, you didn't have this kind of social media. You have printed media. But the magazines were so thin, you probably wouldn't know, but when the recessions came, and they come in cycles, the design magazines, they get very thin because the advertising disappears,
Yeah.
and they have nothing to write on because nothing is opening.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a huge amount of marketing on the few places that we did open for other clients because there was nothing else to publish. I would get calls from magazines and said, Hernan, do you have anything? I said, no, we just did this and this other restaurant. And they say, oh, we can take photos. I said, Interior, whatever magazine just came and they will publish it next week. So, oh, it's okay, we'll take shots from another angle. So the same restaurant, we get shot from different, and I would give the same interview. And this that I'm talking to you, I've already spoken to, I don't know who. 30 years of this shit, can you imagine? But, what happened is that, first of all, there were very few openings. So the few places that were opening, they had people coming in to have a look at them. Now they were published in every design magazine.
Yeah.
So they got the advertising, and the restaurants got busy. So other restaurateurs will take notice. It's like, who designed them? So we became kind of celebrity restaurant designers, like very fast. So from being in deep shit to being quite busy.
Okay.
It happened very fast. And again, we do understand how restaurants work, so that helps. But it was so much of what was happening at the time, and so we got lucky. What looked like the possible worst luck in,
yes.
is like we moved from Australia because it was a recession, and wherever we went, I felt like I was carrying the recessions with me. It's like, fuck, not another one, and...
I can share the same feeling. For the longest time I thought I was jinxed because in 2016 I moved to Thailand with my wife from Italy, and the day I was boarding the plane with my last suitcases, my wife calls me and she says, the king died. He had to choose that year, so we went into total mourning. I don't know if you went to Thailand during that period, but it was everyone dressed in black. It was very dystopian. The windows of the car dealers all had only black and white cars in the front.
Wow.
The TV, most of TV stations were broadcasting in black and white for a whole year. It was very surreal. Even at some point, there were beat-ups, public beat-ups to people, especially not to foreigners, but to ties that would wear something
Colorful.
different from white and black.
Wow.
So okay, that happens, and then after 3 years, we decided we've had enough of Bangkok, and we wanted to come to Hong Kong. We get there. We moved in February 2019. May 2019, you know what happened, and when we were starting to feel a little bit at peace, then something else happens that we're gonna name, because otherwise the algorithm is gonna cancel the podcast from YouTube. So I was like, oh my God, I really felt it was somehow my fault. And in the meantime,
I will blame you.
I don't know. You should. I give you free. I give you license. And in the meantime, my wife was pregnant, and my wife was in legal troubles with her employer, and it was like, I was like, what did I do? It's like, God, I believe you're there. Just stop pointing your finger at me. And yeah, it's okay. I think it's a matter of resilience, and in fact, let's say I don't know if I have the same resilience that you have, because you told me you go bust twice, and you come here and you have the stomach to open a third company, which is either
we're
you are
about to go bust again.
Either you are very proud or very stubborn, or you believe a lot in yourself. Which one is it?
I think I'm stubborn.
Stubborn is good.
Yeah.
Stubborn works.
I think it's. I like to feel like I'm working for myself.
Yeah.
I remember, in Australia when we were running our own little company, and my wife has been really there all the fucking time. Hats off to her. And my best friend, he came to Australia, from Chile, and he worked for large companies. And his wife is also very, very close friend. And they would come and say, like, just stop doing that. Get a cushy job, in a large company, and everything you can plan ahead. And then they were going on holidays to Europe. And on the 24th or 23rd of December, he got fired. Just like that. Oh. And they went on holidays, and they had a great time, and they came back, and we worked together, and we found a job, and it was, and then he worked for another large company, but this happened several times. Now he's working for himself. The only difference between working for yourself and working for somebody is that you see the shit coming before it arrives.
Okay.
It's when you're working for yourself, that's coming. Maybe a month or 2 months, or 3 months before it arrives. The guy that is working for you, he doesn't see it coming, but the shit will still happen.
Yeah.
So, it's the minute I could, and it's not like I want to be my own boss. I have bosses. Sure. My clients are my bosses. My customers are my bosses. The customers of my client are my bosses.
Everyone has a boss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we used to do 20, 24 jobs in a year. Now we're probably doing, 12, 13. And we still probably do 2 jobs in a year that I really like. Everything, the concept, the look, the feel, and the other ones, I like the job, and I like the results most of the time, but it's not my cup of tea. It's like design a truck. Sure, I design a truck, but I rather design a motorbike.
Sure.
It's very rare that you get, okay, do whatever you want. And the do whatever you want is not so pleasant anyhow. I rather have a client that basically is targeting the same theme that I would like to be doing. But you do things that you don't necessarily like because you're thinking on who's going to be sitting on that table. And it's not the same taste. They like food that I don't appreciate. Mm-hmm. They like decoration that is not my cup of tea. But it's fun to think with them. It's like, okay, what would they be thinking and how would they be using it? And will that work? And it's fascinating when it happens. So the satisfaction comes from that side.
Yeah.
But
It's like solving a puzzle. It's like solving a puzzle.
It is.
Yes.
You know.
No, and I think creativity. If I give you this to draw, I think it's less exciting than if I tell you need to make a landscape of this size with this red pen.
Exactly.
I think it's more is when it comes to creativity, when you have constraints,
Yep.
it's more interesting because you need to solve a problem. Otherwise, you don't really have any direction, and it's also a recipe for disaster.
I fully agree.
Because then the client can say, "Oh, that was the opposite of what I had in mind."
And I used to complain when you have these clients that change their mind and can you do that, or I want try something different or harder, and it's like, oh God, what now? But the best jobs we have ever done came from a little bit of that painful experience when you are forced to come up with a problem, or it's a regulation issue, it's a height, and how do you get the ramp for the disabled, and all of a sudden you start finding ways, to play on that gray zone, and it's very satisfying. And the best jobs we have probably done came from a lot of restrictions that kept coming. And I see that now with my staff, it's like we go to a meeting, the client changes his mind, and now I don't get so angry. And I can hide it a lot better as well. But my staff, you could see them like the hair going on, like aggressive mode, and it's like, it's okay. And then we go back in the taxi, go back to the office, and it's like, oh, what are we gonna? It's just chill out, relax. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes.
And when the jobs are finished, you can come back and say, okay, you see it's not so bad. And little things. In Hong Kong, you have to constantly compromise with, again, very often because of timing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone lives in such a rush here that you have to use materials that this is what I want. I need to wait 3 months. Okay, I have that available, and that's available now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now if I bring that, I need to change these other two because they don't talk to each other. But it's okay. And then when it's finished, we get very picky of that tone. You get your chart with 6,000 different tones of gray, and then it takes you 2 hours to find the perfect gray. And then you go to site, and you have no idea if they use that one or another gray. You have to put the chart right against it. It looks okay.
Yeah.
It will change. It will change during the day. You come in the morning, and it will look different than in the afternoon because of the quality of the light that comes from the outside. It's a sunny day or it's a cloudy day. Is it wintertime or is it summertime? The light will change everything. And all that really particular detail that you put so much attention, it just disappears. I'm not saying you shouldn't put attention to that, but you shouldn't obsess on it.
I think it's very useful when it comes to these situations to be able to have a multiple personality, which normally this is the definition of a mental disorder, but it's very practical because it happens on a different level with me and my distributors and my clients. You need to have one personality at one moment, and then, when in the briefing, in the ideas generating moment, you need to have a certain mindset, and then you need to just change the brain, put a different brain, and to make it happen. And don't even learn not to feel the pain when making compromises, because it's part of life. It's like when you want to. It's like having a wife, and she wants something different, and you realize that it's really not that important. It's not going to change your life, and it's going to
make your day a lot easier.
Exactly. But it's a matter of becoming older. I actually
wisdom. That's such a wonderful word.
And again, I'm not even 40, but as I'm growing up, apart from losing a little bit of hair, I'm super happy. My body hurts, but I don't.
Wait till you get to my freaking age.
And you look very much in shape. I think it's the phone. I think it's the phone, and also I think it's the phone, and I think that is the fact that you passed a lot of. You had your recessions in Australia. You were here in '97, in 2003, and you were here very very recently. How does this look different or similar to the past experiences? And when do we get out of this?
Oh, I wish I
Crystal
had a
ball, crystal ball.
Exactly. I have two, but they're not crystal. Now, I don't really know because there's so much negative energy around from people saying, "Oh, we're never going to get out of this." But we're never going to get out of the '98. I think is really the closest one to this one. The other ones, 2003 was freaky. SARS was very fast, and the level of panic I haven't seen before anywhere. It was everyone was in total panic and denial. I had friends that would just simply leave, and he's like, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Europe." I mean, this shit is gonna get there before you even open the door in Italy, and but it just came and went so fast. So my experiences after '98 have always been of very fast recessions. It's a panic, and within a year you're back up. '98 was very, very similar. It had a political element. We just had the transition of Hong Kong to China. I'm sure that the West were very happy to see Hong Kong failing.
Sure.
We had it for 140 years and you screw it up in two, So it was similar, not the same, but similar. So you had, apart from the political element, you had the economic recession. The whole of Asia was in a huge recession. And the amount of empty places in Hong Kong were very similar to now. You walk through the streets and it was nothing. We did a job for Hong Kong Land, the landmark building at the time. It was a signage that they never got built, but it was a signage and the receptions desk for the concierge. And the top floor of the commercial area was totally empty before the Christmas of, I don't know if 99 or 98, but around then. And they gave it to some companies that were just doing Christmas decorations, So they decorated that whole floor. It became the place to go because it was the scent of, pine trees and ginger. And you walk into the Hong Kong Land and it's the landmark building, and you had Christmas there without the decoration in the middle. It was just the whole mall scent was about Christmas. And I think they got it for next to nothing or free or percentage of sales. I can't remember what was the deal. It was that. But it was, you haven't seen the landmark empty this time round.
No.
So, I think people have short memories. That was a tough 2-3 years. I think here we got a little bit unluckier with, the pre-COVID time. So we had that, we had COVID. And then we had now we're going to get out of it. It was a little bit of an overconfident minute just after the COVID passed. It was like, now we're going to be bouncing back,
someone
in
has to
6
pay
months.
We still have to pay the invoices.
I think the invoices are very high and it's going to take a while. Companies have moved out, but Hong Kong is unique.
The city is super well built. It just works.
And the people resilience is not just one. And a lot of the people, I came here first time around 1993, and it was a very English place. I was shocked. I mean, the people spoke English, not English. It was very British. And then 96, it wasn't so English anymore. You could already feel kind of more American and Canadian accents.
Mhm.
And then later it was Australian accents, and then the French. And so when people say, oh, it's never going to be the same, I said, no, it won't.
It would be, yeah.
It will be different,
Maybe,
but it will be
maybe
alive.
more. It would maybe more Chinese, maybe more Mandarin.
Or maybe more Middle Eastern, or maybe more, it will always change. And that's the beauty of life. Life is change. If you want something that doesn't change, it's a stone, it's a mineral that haven't been put on the fire. It's the nature of Hong Kong. The city has almost no respect for the past, almost. I mean, you go anywhere else, and to move a window, you're going to have to wait 3 months of permits and red tape. Here you have a beautiful old building, and 3 months later, it's like, what did they do?
No, it's crazy. I have a book at home about the brutalism buildings in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Most of them don't exist anymore.
They had beautiful Bauhaus architecture,
Yes.
modern architecture, and they just throw it away. And I get upset. I'm an architect, But on the other hand, that's why we're here. It's because it's change. And,
Yes.
And if you want to look at Bauhaus buildings, go to cities that don't change. If you want beautiful 2,000-year-old architecture, go to Rome. But
No, it is true. It is true. It's true.
this is a city of change, and I think it's a city of. When you talk about international cities, this is a very international city. You go to Shanghai, and it's the most international city in China. But if you are from overseas, you have to adapt.
Yeah.
Here, you can bring your stuff, and you stay true to your stuff, and you can merge with the other people. Everyone is at level of tolerance to other cultures,
Yeah.
that you don't have in other cities.
It is true. Yesterday we were having on this topic when we were speaking on the phone. We were talking about Hong Kong being a very transient
It is.
place, but despite the fact that a lot of things change, however, some places, especially some restaurants, some bars, manage to stay and to become classics. And you've done a few of them.
Yeah, we've been very lucky.
You've done the Veranda, the Peninsula. You've done the Peak Lookout. I've never eaten there.
It's great. It's great. It's. A chef will say, "Oh, that's not really good," because they have a mix of everything. So the quality probably is not a Michelin star, but
the place is special.
And the food is entertaining. You go with 12 friends. I don't like spicy. I don't like meat. I don't like fish. I don't like, I'm keto. Bloody hell, you're going to find something for everyone in that place. So it's an amazing place to go with a group of divergent, difficult people.
But this is the norm nowadays. I wanted to ask you, which are the places that you like to go? Not necessarily that you design, that you like to go. Even I think it would be even nicer if you tell me places designed by other people.
Oh, yeah.
If you want.
Actually, we go once a month with a group of 6 Chilean friends. We have like the club of 6, and it's great because the age is like from your age to my age, and it's every generation that has arrived in here. So we get together at 12:30, and we stay there till 12 at night.
Oh wow!
Oh yes.
Who allows you to do that?
I told you I got a great wife.
No. I mean, which location allows you to
Ula.
do it? In Ula.
Ula.
All right.
And it's again, I don't want to be critic. It's not top quality food. It's not the design. Definitely not in my cup of tea. But the whole experience is entertaining. If I go out, I want to have fun.
Sure.
If I want to have, years ago, we had a client that wanted to do one of these, molecular food places. So we had a tour to Australia for 5 days, and we spent 3 days eating in Melbourne and Sydney on these amazing places, molecular food, 3.5 hour lunches, 4.5 hour dinners. On the third day, I was dying to have a McDonald's. All I wanted was to have 2 bites of the same food. But I couldn't get out of the hotel because these guys are paying for everything, and it was an amazing experience. And they see me crossing the road to go to McDonald's. It would have been like an insult. I had to wait. It was a 24-hour open McDonald's, 2.5 blocks from the hotel. I waited till so late at night.
So they would be asleep.
Yes. To go there and have French fries and 3 bites of the same freaking flavor. Everywhere we went, it was like, oh, you have these and foamy and beautiful. The best desserts I've ever tried. I don't remember them, but I know that it was the first I've ever tried. And all this amazing experience with some guy that would talk about the wine, where it came from for 10 minutes. And it's like, I just want a zip of it. I mean, don't talk to me about it anymore. And then how it goes with the food and how you have to have it from here and not from that side and it was like, oh my God, this is driving me. The first was great. The first 3.5 hours of this experience was like, wow. Then at nighttime we go to another place for the same experience, and it was like, okay. And then you have these dishes. I said, it's a strawberry, but it will taste like a raspberry and the flavor of whatever it is. I said, just give me a raspberry. I mean, why do I need to spend 20 minutes in a talk where you're going to tell me that this strawberry will taste like a raspberry?
I think it made some sense at the beginning.
It did, and it was an amazing experience.
But even now, that model is I speak with friends in F&B. I mean, I speak with David and with, let's say, many other people that work in the industry, and they all agree this fine dining is dying of a very slow death.
Honestly, I think also it's a cycle.
You think? Okay.
I think it will die and it will come back, and the next generation don't know about it, and they will try to experiment again. And I think it's great. They come up with new things. But personally, I just want simple. I want fun. I want to have a good talk. I listen to whatever it is that you can say that I maybe learned something from it.
No, it's true.
I want drinks that are simple. I want food that is strong flavors, because I eat fast.
Strong flavors.
If it's chili, make it chili.
Okay.
If it's it's
okay, fair enough.
Don't go too mellow. That I have to concentrate to get the flavors of it. That is hard work. I love to go to places where I don't need to choose. When you go and it's like, whatever, just I'll trust you, bring whatever it is that. I used to be very fussy, I used to eat very simple. When I was young, I used to be punished by my mother very often because you have to stay and I had my 3.5 hour lunches and dinners on those days.
On the same dish.
On the same freaking dish, and it was cold and they will reheat it and bring it back and reheat it and bring it back.
They were super kind that they would reheat it.
Oh, I mean, trust me, after the third reheating, it tasted like shit. I mean, it was before it was bad already, but after the third one, it was like, my God, I have to eat that crap now. And I can't remember where were we.
No. Sorry, I commented on the strong flavors. No, but on how
so
on how
I
we
used to
want
basically
things.
have my rice and the meat and the tomatoes, and they couldn't mix. And I would not use the same spoon or fork on the first dish and on the second. It has to be a clean dish. And then you come here and you go to China with the clients that we have there, and it's like, just please don't tell me what's in it. As long as I don't know what it is, you just tell me it's vegetarian, and I will enjoy it. Once they start telling me from which animal and which part of the animal it comes, it's like, oh no, please.
Yes. I can relate 100%. In my case, because of my job, I counted 1 year, so I think I more or less eat outside 500 times per year between breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Especially business trip are normally 2 or 3 times per day, which amount to a lot. And it's like the public announcement on the flights that I hate with a passion, and it's half of the reason why I don't fly with Emirates Airlines is because they say everything 3 times in English, in Arabic, and in the local language. So for me, going to a restaurant and listening to a menu and is just work, and it's like a lot of noise, and I see friction between my neurons.
Yeah.
Like, so I try to go. If I go with someone that has been there, like choose for me.
Yes.
And I just want to make the experience from the entrance of the place of having food in front of me as short and silent as possible.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little bit personally a little bit picky on this, but this is your water if you want.
Brilliant.
Sorry.
Thank you.
But I think in general the world is also a little bit fed up of all of these experience-centered F&B places. I think Instagram has done a little bit of damage, and now people are happy with a white cloth on top of a table and very straightforward food.
I think this is where the 25 years difference between us, counts. It's a cycle. Everything that you think we're done with this is just a cycle. Again. It will come back. I've seen it coming back. And 2008 when the Americans screwed up with their stock market and whatever it is, I had an interview, can't remember by whom, but it was me and a younger designer talking about the change in architecture, because prior to that, it was still very much, even Philippe Darc, everything was a little bit over the top, over design, over bling, over perfection, and the shiny, polished polyurethane finish woods, and all of that you look at it now, it's like, oh God, what were they thinking? And it went on to the industrial looking and rustic, which was a comfort place of hiding when the shit hits the fan, And this young designer was saying, oh, it's the environment. That's why people are going to these places, and designers are designing these because it's environmentally friendly. And the whole approach of him was that we finally come to terms with the fact that we have to, be responsible with this. And the guy asked me, and I said, no, I wish it was true, but it's in.
It's just fashion. It's just
fashion. We are all going industrial and casual because we had enough of the bling bling, and we're blaming the bling bling for the crisis we're on. And now we just need a little corner where we can feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to pretend. We don't need to dress up. We feel cozy, and that's why we're using all this industrial approach. And in fact, this industrial approach, unless it's for real, and that's very, very few of those places for real, are twice or 3 times less environmentally friendly than the other ones. Because first you have to build them, and then you have to spend time destroying them. You have to use incredibly poisonous and dangerous chemicals to make that wood look old.
Yes.
And to scrap that paint and make it look like it's been there for 100 years. That is not environmentally friendly. You have to use a lot of cheap labor to hammer with a chain the wood pieces so it's got the right dents. And then you have to strip them, and then you put them outside, before you apply them. And you say, oh, this comes from a little lodge that it was demolished somewhere in the mountains of. It's bullshit. It's a cycle. And
I see. You mentioned before there is something. There is a question I let go, but I want to fish back. You said that 2-3 times per year you do projects that you really, really like. What are the ingredients that a project need to have for you to love them and to, let's say,
I think in general, the ingredients change because I wake up in a different mood this week than next week. This week I'm feeling black, I'm miserable, and the world's going to go to pieces. And the next week I'm in a happy mood, and so the ingredients are going to be constantly changing. I like sexy places. I like a little bit of naughty corners. I like places where you let your imagination, your clients go there in awe. It's like I'm not a religious person, but I love churches.
yes, I agree with you.
I love that with the feeling when you go in and it's like, wow, and you're so tempted to scream just to get the bouncing of the echo. It's the lighting quality. Doesn't matter what they were thinking. I mean, Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the guy that did the arcade in the Vatican and most of the most amazing sculptures during the time of Michelangelo. And he was not a religious person, but he had a very good relationship with one of the popes.
Yeah.
And in fact, he was incredibly naughty, But they still have the capacity to engage with that crowd and produce these amazing pieces.
I know.
So what do I like? I like sexy places. I like places that they let you either focus on what you're doing or let you get away from your mundane day. Sometimes it can be a very straightforward, almost boring place, but it you come in and it brings that, oh, this is kind of real. No designer involved. I love the places that you feel like no designer was involved, and the ones in which you feel like whoever was involved was so committed to it. They're both extremes. Places that looked like they were just done by the operator and put together over years of hanging shit on the walls, like Vargas or, even Bar Leone. I had such an amazing surprise when I went to that place. I saw it when they opened because we used to go to Ula there.
Yes.
And they opened this place, and it was like, oh, God. And then they started with a queue, but very short. And I always was tempted I need to go because people talk about it. But the facade was so lousy that I couldn't get myself to walk in, And then it got famous, and the queue got so big, that's bloody hell, I never went. And now with the queue, I will never go. And somehow I got lucky that I got invited there, and I met the owners. And by that time, they have already become the number one bar in Asia, and I don't know what in the world. So I walk in, and I was expecting a whole wow thing, because how do they win that award? And it was such a relief to walk in and see a place that it feels like there's no design in it, or very casual. Everything is just a little bit short of being in the right place.
It's sarcastic. It's a sarcastic place.
I honestly, I think whoever gave the award to these people should get an award himself for having the balls to give in an award to that place. Now, the drink, the service, it was an amazing place.
Yes.
So, yes.
There are so many layers of things that work very well in that place.
It's fantastic. They deserve it totally. But it's amazing that someone would have the guts to give an award to that corner in that place. You have to. Sometimes the people that give their words.
Pull it through you. Don't be scared. There you go.
Sometimes the people that give their words should be given their word. The Opera House in Sydney.
Yep.
You know that their word, the winning theme, Hudson's design, was already thrown away by the time the main juror came in. They had a committee that had already filtered through the piles, and that one was thrown away. And then the president of the juror came a day or 2 days after, and the first thing he did, he went through the pile of rejections.
I see.
And he pulled that one out. and say, this is the one. If not, you would have had a box in there, probably similar to that skate thing that they have here in front of the peninsula. And that is not the right thing to be in the waterfront.
It's beautiful inside.
It is.
But yeah, I agree. Imagine Sydney with a box in the place of the Opera House.
Have you seen the second entry?
What do
The
you mean?
number, the second prize of that
No,
competition.
I haven't.
I'll send it to you.
Please. I'm
My
very
God,
curious.
it's like, then you appreciate even more what they did. I mean, it was like 10 times over budget or 20 times over budget. They have to create like a Mark VI to finance the job because it was so expensive. The whole concept didn't work in terms of structure or whatever it is. But it's iconic. I mean, that combination of the bridge and the Opera House, they make the whole city. You can change everything else in there and you know you're in Sydney.
No, I don't know if there is a city in the world that has, in such a reduced area, four elements so different. You could say even five, because you have the botanical gardens, the Opera House, all the skyscrapers on the Circle Quay.
Yeah.
The Circle Quay itself.
Yeah.
Actually, you could say it's six. You have the rocks, and then you have the bridge. It's like pam, pam, pam.
Yeah.
But without the Opera House, you get that, let's say, modernist ingredient.
I mean, it's the cherry on the cake.
Yes,
You know,
100%.
that's the one ingredient that
Yeah.
he can probably tell you, oh, that's going to change the dish. That 3 drops of this.
No. It's totally true. It's totally true. It's totally true. I want to ask you. There is one story that you mentioned yesterday that I want to I want to go back because I thought it was very interesting. You told me that you when I was trying to get information of some of the projects that you had done in the past. You mentioned the Peak Lookout, you mentioned the Veranda. We spoke about one that you did very recently, the Jimmy's Kitchen in the in Pedder building. But then you mentioned the story about a gay bar that you designed.
Oh yes.
For Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And when you were speaking, I was thinking, I hope I can bring back this enthusiasm tomorrow when we record the podcast.
That was probably when people ask me which is your favorite project. It's so hard.
Yes.
But I think that would probably be on the top 3,
Okay.
It was 1995, I think. Before I came, before I came, I was living in Brunei. And this client of the Thai restaurant, by now he has done a Spanish restaurant. And so basically that's how I used to come here every 6-7 weeks, to come, have a look at a new site, then come and brief the contractor. And then they come back and set the lights a week before opening or something like that. And he was not gay, but at one point he said, I want to do a gay bar. And it was like, why? I don't know, 50% of his staff, they were gay, and they were not, actually they were not gay. He didn't have a single gay in his company. They were all queens. I mean, they were so much fun, and they convinced him to open this gay bar. And he did the numbers, and the numbers were like, the percentage of gay people, the average income, their disposable income. I mean, everything was like, it's an amazing market. And so he comes to me and said, can you do a gay bar? I said, sure. What's so special about it? And in Hong Kong at the time, it was only one. And where smoke and where the barrel is or somewhere there, and other level below there. And it was called Propaganda, and it was just basically a black hole. It was nothing in there apart from really good music and a black hole. So it was nothing to learn from in that one. And then I've been to a couple of gays bars before, and they looked like a normal house or a pub with a lot of leather. But, it didn't have anything special. So we did a tour to Madrid, London, Barcelona, and just visiting gay clubs. And it was an eye-opener. It was so amazing and so much fun. At the time I was living in Brunei, and I came back to design it, and I used to do that after hours. I mean, I had a full-time job in Brunei, but I used to do these things after hours. So I had a room at home that it was my studio. My wife was on holidays back in Chile at the time with the family. And funny thing is, I'm doing this gay bar, so it's a lot of anatomy, male anatomy drawn in. How do I bring that into the design without being tacky?
Yes.
And I used to stick everything on the walls. And one day I forgot to lock the door, and we had a part-time cleaner that would come in and clean the house, a helper. And of course, the helper probably managed to get in there, because I'd left the door open. So she never came again till my wife and everyone came back, But that job was fantastic, It was, it had all the elements. I mean, it had drinks and it had sex, So it was fun to design something with that.
It's not open. Is it still open?
No, but it was there for 18 to 20 years. It was amazing. It's a restaurant there now. I think it's a Japanese restaurant, but it was called Zip.
Okay.
And it was just, we had a starry optical glass ceiling. We had the door handles. They got stolen 3 times, so we had to weld them at the end. They had a very weird shape. Elegantly done,
Okay,
but there was quite obvious what it was. It's my favorite place.
Bravo. Oh, do you have some pictures from it?
I'll send you.
Please, I want to edit them in the video.
Yeah,
I
don't think I have enough of them, but I definitely would have some.
No, 100%.
And we used a lot of. I mean, the best gay bars I've ever seen. They were all in Barcelona at the time.
Yes,
in fact,
more than Madrid, eh?
Yes,
because then Madrid became the capital, the gay capital of. I was going to say Spain, but probably Europe.
All right. On those days, I guess it would have been Barcelona.
Yeah.
So and we went there, and it was amazing. I mean, velvet, and it was Alfredo Arribas, that was the designer of most of these places, and he was amazing. And in one of the places, the last one we visited, it was scary because it was not so much the design, but we had to walk through these pebble stone walkway, and the light bulbs were all broken. So it was it was winter, and we get to this door, which is like an industrial brick wall, with just this metal door and these 2 huge black guys by the door. And it's like, this is weird, and we walk through the door, and then it's a curtain and a Juliet balcony. So you open the curtain and you come into this little Juliet balcony, and it's this huge three space warehouse below. So you're basically like there in the spot with a spotlight, So I know what a woman feels when he walks to a bar full of drunken men. You feel like, and you see all these eyes, like in Toy Story when they look at everyone watching, and it was scary. It was.
Yeah, I can relate. I spent 6 years in Madrid studying at university, and I would go out sometimes with gay friends for a couple of drinks, and it took a while until I got used to that environment.
Yeah,
like being looked at.
Yeah, that it was okay. It's just in this one, it felt like you were in a bikers club. It was, it was raw. They had 2 big cages, one with a lady and one with a guy in leather straps dancing in the middle of the air. So it was like, oh shit. This is not a place where I come to flirt and tease and have a little bit of fun.
No, this is
hardcore.
Raw.
It's hardcore, and I'm going down with my client, and he's so confident and so relaxed, and said, "Mate, just hold my hand and look jealous. You know, just, just please look jealous.
ah, Madonna Santa. Hernan, you told me that you were very shy and
I was.
you didn't like to do these things.
I hate it.
But I think I think you should do your own podcast. I think you are a natural at telling stories, eh?
It's you learn over the years, but no, I was overly shy. People would never imagine, you know, to which point I couldn't. In school, I didn't. I couldn't crit anything. You know, it's like come to the front. My hand would sweat. I would just go bright red, and I froze. My brain would freeze. You know, and even in university, I used to hang my projects.
Yes.
And go. And the teachers will come and say, and you have to crit to the whole class. I said, no. I said, we'll take 1/3 of the mark. I said, no problem. Take 1/3 of the mark. I'm not gonna do it. And I the first and last time I crit in university was my final project. You have to, you know, it's a committee of 8 teachers in there and the professors, and you have to explain the whole thing. But I had 3 nights in a row not sleeping. So by that time
you were not feeling it.
I mean, I was sweating like a pig, but it was like I probably answered all the wrong things, but I passed, so it's okay.
No. I think, look, I couldn't tell from let's say how you are in front on the mic now, and despite the fact that you don't have a phone, I appreciate the fact that when we met at Zodiac's event and I told you about the podcast, you said, I normally don't do these things, but I'm going to do it. So I appreciate it double. Again, despite, let's say, fighting with the modernity of the ubiquitous connections, I was checking your Instagram yesterday, the Stangelin and Holt Associates one. And I think you do a great job of, let's say, you use Instagram, you use social media, your company does in the right way, which is...
You know that I get it. My niece work for Arch Daily.
Okay.
For, I don't know, 8 years. She started when they were, 5 people. And she left a year ago. She's an architect, and I brought her here. And I said, okay, you work on the design, but you have to lift the game on our social, because we do very, very little marketing. I call it bullshit, but she calls it marketing. We are kind of agreeing that, and she's convinced me over a year, it's taking her a long time, that if you're doing that with substance, it's the right thing. It's not right when there's no substance behind.
Exactly.
So I'm still dealing with it, but she's right. You know?
Exactly. This is exactly what I'm trying to do with this podcast, because nowadays you go on LinkedIn and you see a lot of these people that I criticize on every episode, that they show you the 9 skills you need to develop for success, or the 7 secrets for a longevity,
and they never done them,
and the 13 tenets of the. I'm like, shut the.
I know.
But I think it's important to share, and I think it's important to share something of substance. And this is why I'm very grateful that you came and spent time with me, because you made the episode. I enjoyed the episode. I hope you did.
I did. I enjoy your presence. It's always been entertaining.
You are super kind. What do you think, David? I always ask for his approval. You like the episode? I think it was a very nice one. What are you up to this weekend? Because this is we are pretending this is a Friday in the afternoon. So,
I mean, honestly, I had a heart attack a year and a half ago.
Really?
Yes, I should be dead. Somebody decided, and I needed further punishment, so I'm being back here. I was swimming in Repulse Bay and had a heart attack.
No way!
I landed on the pontoon. My daughter came, CPR. They came. They put the whole thing, and I was off, like gone for 12 hours, and then I don't remember anything for a week, and then all of a sudden the first thing I remember is I'm I have a huge menu and I can pick a pig tomahawk, I said, can I eat that? And said, yeah. I said, okay, I want that. And that's the first thing I remember. Whatever happened before, it was forgotten.
Really?
Yes. How did we get there?
What are we going to do this weekend?
Yes. So I don't, and normally I would work. Saturday and Friday night was my favorite days for working, unless we have a party organized.
Yes.
It's, because I'm not going to be getting calls. My staff won't come to the office. I'm on my own. And so I would work sometimes Fridays all night because, I can work and then I crash when I crash.
Yeah.
But after that, they said, no, you have to work normal hours and sleep normal hours. And it has been almost like that for a year and a half. But now I'm getting back my Saturdays, so I can work again on Saturdays. I wasn't not allowed to work on Saturdays. Now it's like, okay, just fucking go. But
all right.
But I probably will go to. We've done some changes in our restaurant for one of our clients, so we'll go there and try the food. Sundays, we either walk to the Peak or I love walking. We walk a lot with our wife, my wife in Central, or just nothing planned. Improvise.
Very good. I want to either buy you or cook you dinner one time. So I hope you can be my guest, not on the podcast, but we can take this conversation and use more bad words.
Let's do that. We just opened a new place.
Yes.
I'm a shareholder in a restaurant group.
I didn't know. Which one?
Yes. I mean, I saw all my clients getting rich quite fast while I still was working, 80 hours a week and poor. We look rich, but it's different. They can afford the car. I couldn't, and I thought, "Fuck, we're on the wrong side of the bloody." And then you realize that it's pretty tough on the other side too. But we have a group with my business partner that he runs it. I would have probably run it to the ground by now. Called Wulumulu. It's a steakhouse.
Okay.
And we just opened a new place in Queens Road. I'll take you there. It's called Omaru in H Queens.
Okay.
We'll go there first.
H Queens was where the picnic was in the rooftop.
We
correct?
took that place.
Nice.
Oh yes.
That's a nice spot.
Very nice spot. The rooftop will probably take 9 months to get it approved because they never applied for the full license. It was unlicensed.
That's why they closed?
No, they closed because they ran it. 3-star Michelins or 2-star Michelins are very difficult businesses to run. People think, oh well, but the cost of their food, it's insane. They are really not good businesses. There's a passion for what they are doing. Most of these groups that make money in those restaurants, they make the money selling Fiat. The Ferrari is just for the show.
Yeah.
So
nice.
So I think it was not. We took over the site, and the idea was to do as little as possible because they had amazing equipment. They had better equipment than we had. They had, but a lot of things were in the wrong place. And they have 36 seats in a restaurant that we squeezed 80.
Wow.
So when you have 36 seats, you I think from my personal point of view, you have two problems. One is you have to charge everyone triple, in order to pay the rent and your cost and your operating, because you still have even more people in the kitchen than what we would have. When you're doing a 3-star, you have someone cutting all the little slices at 1.5 millimeter squares.
Yes.
All those detailing and the preparation time, is huge. And then you have to divide that by 36 seats. And then on top of that, again, and this is very particular, I don't like the energy of these places because they're very quiet and the space is too big. I love going to Samsen in Wan Chai. I never sit there because the queue's too long, but I love to see everyone is just squeezed in there. And nobody's complaining because it's too noisy. I love it. It's so we increase the seating to triple whatever that they had, and I think once we get the rooftop done, it's gonna be hot.
Let's go check it out.
Yes.
Whenever you're free. Fantastic. Whoever is listening to this, go check it out as well. David, thank you as always for being here.
Thank
Hernan,
you. It's great to meet you. It's good.
thank you for spending time with me. I enjoyed a lot this episode. This week, David knows because he's been with me 3 days. It was a very tough week, so it's very nice to be able to have these small moments to relax and have fun. And for everyone else, this is published on a Friday afternoon, so be happy, make big plans, spend money on restaurants, and be naughty.
Be naughty, absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. Much love. Ciao, ciao. Until the next one. All right.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.